Hey, this is Bridget Lynn Dolgoff of Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Anyway, this video is about a water wheel ceremony that I did. I had asked Marshall Jack, who taught me this water wheel ceremony, if he had time to go out with me at Pyramid Lake, and that we could do the water wheel ceremony out there. Anyway, he was on his way to South America at that time to spend like 5 or 6 months with the Aztecs. Traveling around and going to different ceremonies by the Aztecs and teaching some of his ceremonies. This is where and Marshall Jack wanted to return a skull. Goldie, who was I think not pyrite. She was a pyrite skull. She was a trip. She was pretty powerful. Some of us at some of the other ceremonies that Marshall Jack had, brought Goldie, and we all got to check her out and hang out with her. But during that time, he was gonna go down there and return the skull back to the Aztecs. Later on, Goldie the skull didn't want to work with the Aztecs, and she actually made her way back to Marshall Jack here in the United States. It's kind of a trip, when things are meant to be. And those skulls, those crystal skulls, they are definitely living. Not the kind of living that we're probably used to with 2 arms and legs, eating, working a job, but they definitely are living and can produce chains of events. Somehow Goldie the skull got herself back from South America with the Aztecs, like hand to hand to hand to hand off to hand off to hand off, until she was back with Marshall Jack. So anyway, I think she had goo-goo eyes for Marshall. He treated her good. Anyway, she got to do a lot of good ceremonies with him. Anyway, so Marshall was headed down to meet with the Aztecs, and he didn't have time to help me with doing the water wheel ceremony. So he said, it needs to be done and you should do it. So I put out a thing on Facebook and some other places that we were going to do this water wheel ceremony out at Pyramid Lake, Marshall Jack's water wheel ceremony, to basically, it alleviates the original sin and all the negativity that lays on top of that in the water. So it releases the anger, the violence, the hatred, anything that's contaminating the water or lowering its vibration. So anyway, nobody was willing to come. Nobody was interested in coming, so I had to perform the ceremony. So at that time, I had a student, student and friend. Now we're pretty good friends. But at that time, he was really good at art, and he had gone down kind of the shamanic road, and then was going back to pick up some information and study and ceremonies that he missed along the way. Anyway, we went out there, and he drew the star pattern on the ground, and then we did all the crystals in the water, and we single-handedly performed the whole ceremony. We even got stuck in the sand on our way out. And these 2 drunk fishermen guys watched us like digging out for like an hour, and then finally decided, to help us, which was a good thing. But anyway, we must have looked kind of really strange out there doing this water wheel ceremony. Anyway, before the 4th round of the ceremony, I got like violently ill. And I just want to say something here to people who are spiritual elitists. There is no protection against this stuff. You're a conduit and a vehicle. And if you don't have a lot of people showing up to some of these ceremonies, you don't have enough people to clear it. And each individual is like an acupuncture needle. So if you have 100 acupuncture needles, you can release a lot of stuff and then, bring in new stuff, right? But if there's 2 people that are doing the ceremony, I was protective over Ryan. that means that I'm going to take like the full brunt. And my whole intention about this whole thing was I wanted to clear the original sin of what was going on at that lake. And I wanted to get to the root. So it was probably also activated a little bit more than I could chew. But I rebound pretty good from this stuff. I've been doing ceremony and release work for a long time. So I know that it's just a matter of a few days laying low. It was the dreams that really kind of rocked me. So I got violently ill. I got home. I was literally sick for like 3 days. Couldn't get out of bed, just sick. And I just wanted to sleep. And I knew that I was kind of clearing it. But I kept having these dreams every night, or when I'd go back to sleep, about these people. And they're basically sitting on the ground. And there's these other people coming and taking big rocks and bashing their heads. And their heads are exploding like melons. And they're punching them. And they're exploding like melons. And all this kind of these really horrendous dreams. And I kept thinking, shit, I did this beautiful ceremony, and like, wow, I don't know what the hell's going on. So after about 3 days, boom, I popped back up, everything's good. And then it was like, I don't know, I think it might have been the following winter, and I was working with my friend Emmett, the young medicine man, Indian native guy, and we were talking about this situation, this ceremony that I did, because a lot of traditional native people who do traditional ceremony are not really okay and not really happy with some of their original traditional teachers going out and working with new ceremonies. But these native people need to work with these ceremonies because, ancestors are coming to them. I mean, Marshall Jack was visited by a grandmother, an ancestor of Lake Tahoe, the grandmother of the lake, and basically told that these were the kind of ceremonies he was going to do. And Marshall was like totally against it. He's like, oh, no. No, I do man stuff. I don't know anything about woman stuff. And the grandmother that rose out the lake said, no, you need to do these and you need to help do them. So Marshall was listening to the ancestors and the teachings of the holy ones and the ancestors. So he's following his path. So anyway, but I was telling Emmett about, these crazy dreams that I had after the ceremony. And I knew that there was a lot of slaughter, that happened to a lot of native people, but never heard Paiutes talk about any kind of slaughter. Well, it turns out like almost every lake in Nevada, there was like a massive Paiute slaughter. Lake Lahontan, there's the Schurz tribe at the Walker Lake, Paiutes, so Pyramid Lake. And I wasn't aware of all this until, like the last few years. And I'd like to go out and do a water wheel ceremony for Lahontan. It has water in it now, but I think we could do one. Maybe I could put that together, put it out there. Anyway, so Emmett said, hey, I'm going to go to the library in a couple days, and then, I'll print some stuff up. But he said basically what I saw in those dreams is exactly what happened to the Paiute people in the reservations, like around 1850 or something. So a couple days later, Emmett shows up with us. It was a document, and it was based on some general or some, military high-up guy. And it was his kind of testimony of what happened. Basically, it talked about how the military went out to Pyramid Lake and the Paiute people out there, and that they were so easy pickings that they didn't even have to use their weapons. And they literally, punched these people in the head until their heads exploded, hit them in the heads with rock. And the Paiute people are such, a peaceful people. I mean, a lot of them were starving. I've told the story before. I mean, they're in the desert, so they're foraging in the desert. Some of the native people, Paiute refers to the fish eaters, right, which is more of a white term. But they would have, each tribe would have been completely different. Um, they would have been the bug eaters, the rabbit eaters, the plant eaters, the deer eater, and the fish eater. So just because they're all Paiutes and they go across Oregon, Nevada, parts of California, doesn't mean they were all fish eaters. Some of them lived in areas where there's like no, water, no rivers, no lakes, no nothing. So the Paiute people were hungry people, and they had to forage daily. So they didn't start fights with other tribes. They didn't have the time to, they didn't have the resources to do that. Their focus was on food and feeding their people. So in 1850, the military went in there and they sat on the ground peacefully, and these military people just massacred them. So these were the dreams that I was seeing, after I did this ceremony. And the dreams were like really horrific. I mean, what happened to the Native people is super horrific, nationwide. I mean, they went from like 66 million to 6 million in a really short period of time. And it was just like, could be like the most horrible atrocity ever committed on earth. That's what happened to the Native people in America. So doing these ceremonies and going out, the job is to release the energies from the water and from the land and from the earth, and get everything jamming again so that we can get the earth woken up, get her fixed, and so she can get in the game and help us fight right now, and help her to take back, herself. So anyway, these photos are from the ceremony that Ryan and I did out at Pyramid Lake. The water well ceremony that was taught to Marshall Jack, Paiute elder, by the grandmother that resides, the spirit grandmother, ancestor, who resides in Lake Tahoe. And she was the one that focused his attention on this particular type of star pattern, and also particular type of ceremony. And it leaves kind of a vortex of energy. And there's 7 points. There's 6 on the outside and 1 in the middle, in which we use rose or quartz crystals only. And those stay in the ground. And then the star pattern. And then usually there's typically about 4 rounds to activate it and release. It's for the water. So it's always done like close to water. So it releases the layers of what's in the water. So, and then what happened was that after this time, it was a couple months after that, Bovado, my Shoshone medicine teacher, was going to be coming through Reno, and so he contacted me to see if we could get together and chat, spend a little bit of time together. And this was right before he went into seclusion for his cancer and passed in June 2016. But anyway, I asked him if he could, when he was out there going through Pyramid Lake, because he wanted me to meet him out there, and I just didn't have time, if he could go through there and he could, when he was going to try to meet with the Native people out there, if he could go through and make sure that everything possible could be cleaned up from out there, all the stuff. So he went through there, and then he showed me all the pictures. But he found some places where people are doing like some modern ritual sacrifice and like all kinds of crazy crap. And he just drove around to about 4 places where he really felt like the energy was blocked, and he found the problem, and then he actually released those. So I haven't got to spend a whole lot of time out there since all this happened. Well, right after that, this unbelievable thunderstorm came out there. So a couple months later, I was out there, and it was unbelievable, most incredible thing I've ever seen. But Bovado would tell you that is the earth releasing the energies. So there's these levels of release of things, and there's levels of things that come in, like frequencies and adjustments. And so it was just really kind of incredible for a while what nature was doing in order to process it all at higher levels. So anyway, I'm going to post pictures of the water well ceremony and after these, and so I hope you enjoy them. Thanks so much. Bridget Lynn Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project channel.